All right, we are live. What's up, folks? I'm very honored to have in the on the program right now, Muti Ajamu-Osagboro. You may have met him before. He's been a guest on the channel several times. He's actually a featured channel down at the lower down. Today, I actually heard some things I wasn't able to follow up, but we're actually going to hear about what's been going on in Pennsylvania, a very key swing state. And actually, if you think about it, right, Kamala Harris, she really needs Pennsylvania if she wants to win. And you would think that she would actually, I know Shapiro was actually in the running to be a potential vice presidential candidate, but somehow he wasn't selected and it wasn't really made clear why. What do you think about it?
Well, I can tell you why. What some of us on the ground did who knew what was going on, there's an old maxim that says that all politics are local. I'm inclined to lean towards that because I've seen so much evidence to prove that. But what happens is on the federal level, they tend to try to usurp the local operation of politics and superimpose themselves on it. But if the individuals who are local have integrity and character and independence, then they won't allow that. And that's what happened. Those of us on the local level, we didn't allow that. We told a story which most people nationally don't know. While the Democratic Party, let me say this first. I'm neither Democrat nor Republican. For lack of a better word, I'm an independent. And my focus is interests. The interests of black, brown, and poor white people. And our interest has to be the interest of whoever the candidate is. And if they don't support our interests, they are our adversaries. If they support our interests, then we can support them and make them win the office. Doesn't matter whether it's presidency, governorship, mayoral elections, Congress, United States Senator, or state senator, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I had to say that first because every time you say something negative about a Republican, person accuse you of being a Democrat. And every time you say something negative about a Democrat, person accuse you of being a Republican. And I need to make it clear that I'm neither. So with that with that out the way, and also make it clear too that both of those parties are ran like plantations. So we're not going to sugarcoat that at all. Now, in terms of the Josh Shapiro situation, what we did here on the local level is a whole bunch of organizations got with both campaigns and let them know where we stand. And specifically, we got with the Kamala Harris campaign and let them know that if they select Josh Shapiro as her running mate, vice presidential running mate, that we would back the Republican candidate. And we meant it. It wasn't a pump fake. It wasn't a bluff. Because as folks who follow national politics know, the last presidential election was decided by the state of Pennsylvania. It's a pivotal state. As Philadelphia goes, so goes Pennsylvania. And as Pennsylvania goes, at least in the last couple of elections, so goes the presidential election. And so what we did, we told them, we laid the gauntlet down, and we said that you can't possibly run around here and talk about how anti-democratic the Republican Party is when the candidate that you're talking about picking is perhaps the most anti-democratic governor in the country. And how is that, folks may ask? Well, he signed into law Act 40. And Act 40 is a raw white supremacist ploy by a white supremacist state senator in central Pennsylvania who drafted legislation to usurp the authority of our duly elected district attorney, Larry Krasner. Larry Krasner is clearly the best prosecutor in the state of Pennsylvania, and if he's not the best in the country, he's in the top 3, and he's gaining momentum. And I'm talking about that based on his work, not based on popularity, not based on he's a nice dude, um, or he's handsome, or whatever the case may be that somebody might use to actually like a person. We just talking about his work and what he's been doing. Though I have serious criticisms of his work, but that's an individual basis. That's an individual basis, and it's dealing specifically with my case, how he didn't move properly. But outside of that, because I understand that is the big picture is much more important than me. And so how he's moved in other cases and how he's moved overall, creating a whole different climate, one in which the often touted justice actually has a chance to be planted and sprout, if that's possible. And I didn't ever think that was possible in Philadelphia, state of Pennsylvania, and certainly not in America. And so
actually, if you could, yeah, I'm actually going to present on my screen some of the things that you were talking about, like this Act 40 thing right here. So
yes,
you
sir.
could see actually that they said that Act 40 would strip authority from the Philly DA. Officials say Act 40 sets a dangerous, undemocratic precedent and undermines Philadelphia's home rule powers and disenfranchises Philadelphia's voters. And that's NBC saying this. You could see there's other, you can look it up yourselves, but I just want to show you that, this is actually recognized quite widely, right? It's, about how, like you said before, the Nationals try to superimpose their particular ideas upon the thing. So I just want to just give a little bit of evidence to just back what you're saying. Okay, I'm
well,
sorry.
let me tell you exactly what Act 40. It's law now. It's no longer Act 40. It's actually a law now because Governor Josh Shapiro signed it into law. And let me mince no words. When he signed Act 40 into law, that was a declaration of war against the Black and brown communities of Pennsylvania and specifically of Philadelphia, and particularly at a lesser degree, poor white people who are also politically disenfranchised. That was an act of war because he said that our votes to elect Larry Krasner not once but twice didn't mean anything to him. That who we wanted as our prosecutor and reelected as our prosecutor because the job he was doing was so phenomenal, and his prosecutions of cases and handling cases was phenomenal. The governor said, excuse my European, fuck y'all. We don't care what you think. You are insignificant because we're going to superimpose this white supremacist agenda, this anti-democratic agenda on to Philadelphia, the electorate in Philadelphia. And Act 40, what it did was the white supremacist state senator who drafted it, he's from Johnstown, and Johnstown has a vicious problem with crime themselves. And Johnstown is in Cambria County. And he drafted it so that, mind you, even though this clown sits on the transportation committee, it wasn't done through the transportation committee. He drafted a law that said that the state attorney general can appoint a special prosecutor to prosecute cases on SEPTA. SEPTA is Philadelphia's public transportation system. It's actually Southeastern transportation authorities. Everybody, all cities, major cities have one, but SEPTA is ours. And so now this special prosecutor can prosecute cases that crimes that are, or alleged crimes that are committed on SEPTA, and it gives them not only on SEPTA, but 500 yards away from SEPTA, meaning any bus stop, any trolley stop, any train stop, any subway, any L station, anywhere that any trolley stop, 500 stops, 500 feet away from these places, and on these places, the special prosecutor can prosecute the case. And if you lay out a map like District Attorney Larry Krasner did, and color in red where the special prosecutor will have jurisdiction, it's the entire Philadelphia. And to show you how it's a white supremacist ploy, the law doesn't apply to no other county. It's 66 counties in Pennsylvania. It doesn't apply in no other county but Philadelphia. And if the person is on the train going out, because Philadelphia public transportation goes out of the county, goes to Delaware County, Montgomery County, and other counties. If the train goes, the bus, whatever the transportation is, if it goes outside the county and the crime is committed on the train or the transportation, the trolley, the bus, whatever it is, the special prosecutor can't prosecute it. So it's only for Philadelphia. That same, the person gets on, let's say, a bus or train in Philadelphia, leaves out of Philadelphia County and goes into Delaware County or Montgomery County or some other county, the special prosecutor, that same crime committed outside of the county of Philadelphia, the special prosecutor can't do nothing. And so we know specifically it was targeted for the black, predominantly black and brown vote. Black and brown people make up a majority, electoral majority in the city of Philadelphia, and is controlled predominantly by black and brown people. And so we say through our vote who stays and who goes. And that's what Governor Shapiro did. And so we called Harris's campaign on that. And we said, if you don't, if you pick him, we're going to back the Republican candidate. We're going to back the Republican candidate, and we don't care who it is. And we meant that. They got the message because they stood down and they picked the boys' walls. But to show you how they even it was a placate, because we had to actually assert ourselves. Had we not asserted ourselves, they would have picked Josh Shapiro, and he would have been able to take that white supremacist program on the federal level. And picking walls was a token pick, because the fact that you narrowed down all of these people in the state, in the United States, potential candidates as vice presidential candidates, whether they governors, state attorneys, state representatives, whatever the case may be, or just regular Jane and John Q. public, all of these good candidates, you got at the top two, one of them has displayed clearly an anti-democratic and pro-white supremacist agenda to exercise it blatantly. And so that's what Act 40 did. And everybody knew it. And you had the people who were standing in the middle scared to call the governor out on it. You know what I'm saying? But we called him out, and we called everybody else out on it, those who supported him. And this, you got to know this, Seven. Your listeners got to know this. When to show you how hypocritical and fraudulent and fake the Democrats is on this issue, they railed and harangued about, because the state senator that drafted the legislation, he's a Republican, and the Republican Party got behind him. Now, Josh Shapiro is a Democrat, and nobody wants to look at that. In order for that bill to pass, it had to pass in the House and the Senate. The Senate is controlled by the Republicans. The House is controlled by the Democrats. The bill passed in the House, and the Speaker of the House is black. She's a black woman. She's the first black woman ever elected, but it passed on her watch, and she co-signed it. We got the receipts to prove that she co-signed it. Publicly say one thing, but privately she co-signed it. Trying to undermine, playing the two-faced game, the Janus game, the Janus complex. And she telling black people how much she support them and fighting for them, but behind our backs and in closed room doors, she support the efforts to undermine the DA that we picked, we elected, not once, but twice. And mind you, for those who don't know on the local level, they've tried to remove Larry Krasner, our district attorney, 4 different times, 4 different illegal ploys to remove him. They tried to impeach him. The court said it's illegal. They did multiple things, just back to back to back, all unprecedented, all illegal, and all was struck down in the court.
Right. And one thing that I think that also we had talked a little bit before the program started, you had said that they and I know that you're once again, props to your activism. You're really well known as an activist. You've been an activist for a long time, been very influential to a lot of people who are in the prison system. You're still helping people out today. I'm so honored to know you. Now, the thing is that Kamala's office was actually calling you, trying to get you to support Shapiro, and you try to have a conversation, but they said, oh, guess what? When you show up, we've already selected him, right? We don't want to actually hear what you have to say. Do you remember when we were talking about that? And you're like, they just tried to like have you show up and they had already selected Shapiro and they just wanted you to greenlight whatever they said?
Well, what I did was I didn't want to divulge what I was going to do and how we was going to move. So we didn't go into specifics because we didn't want to be preempted. But they invited us
to speak in
They
Pennsylvania.
invited
Right?
us to
What you
come
were
to the
talking about,
rally.
right?
They invited us to come to the rally here in Philadelphia, where Kamala Harris spoke as the keynote. And I think Walls was there, and I think Joe Biden may have been there as well. Well, we was invited. And then after we did that and knocked Shapiro off, we was uninvited. But it's cool though. We made that decision strategically because we knew that that was a reality. Because initially we was going to do it at the rally, but
yeah,
they made an announcement to announce the chosen candidate before the rally. So we had to make a decision. Do we want to stop it?
They definitely was going to choose Shapiro. They
Oh,
definitely was going to go down that
no
route.
doubt
We're
about
setting
it.
it all up.
There's no doubt about it. No doubt whatsoever. And even in not choosing him, they never mentioned his anti-democratic white supremacist ploy to crush, smother, and suppress the black, brown, and poor white vote in the city of Philadelphia. He has been working with the hand in hand with the Republican white supremacist ploy in the state of Pennsylvania to undergird, to usurp the authority of our prosecutor, and not only, and more importantly, the constitutional rights under the Pennsylvania Constitution and the United States Constitution, our right to vote and our right to assemble in all manners political.
You know, and one of the things that really ties together Democrats and Republicans is probably funding from the prison industrial complex. They're going to make a lot of money off of re-enslaving a lot, taking black people, putting in prison, paying them really low wages. We know Kamala Harris already has a record of this. So why would they promote, imprison black people honestly, and not confronting those issues? Because it's a chance to have low wage labor and all this other thing and fund. It's so disgusting.
Oh,
so
no,
sorry.
you're on point. That's that. And for people who can't wrap their mind around that, the concrete evidence of that is, first of all, in the state of Pennsylvania, most of the bodies, the warm bodies that are sent to upstate, come from Philadelphia County. Philadelphia County and Allegheny County, and to a lesser degree, Dauphin County, Erie County to an even lesser degree, Delaware County, Montgomery County, and there are a few other counties, there are a few others, York County, and maybe 2 or 3 others, but most of them have black and high concentration of black and brown enclaves, and all the rest are poor white people. And so these are where most of the bodies come from. But Philadelphia leads that charge. Philadelphia County leads that charge. And so the Krasner effect, what I call the Krasner effect, has been prisons in the state of Pennsylvania are being depopulated because he's no longer sending them to the county prison for either trivial accusations or holding them in prison. They're allowed to get bail so they can fight their cases because he's prosecuting. And that's another thing too, the lie that he's not prosecuting XYZ. Put his record of prosecution up against any of the prosecutors they're talking about, and his numbers will dwarf their numbers. It won't even be close in terms of how many cases he's prosecuting. Whatever crime it is, whether it's murder, rape, robbery, arson, you name it, he's prosecuting it. And his numbers is way bigger than theirs. And so what they'll do, they'll try to take one sensational case and hold that up as if it's indicative of his overall record, and it's a misrepresentation of his record. Now, let me tell you this. Now, this white supremacist in Cambridge County, this senator from Cambridge County in Johnstown, folks don't know that this dude in Cambria County, they have a problem with their criminal court system where they had to transfer. There was a case, a high-profile exoneration case, and this brother was exonerated, but in order to get exonerated, because he alleged and proved that there was systemic corruption in the office of the district attorney in Cambria County, and the judgeship, the judiciary, from the presidential judge on down, as well as the defense lawyers who were closet prosecutors, he proved it. They had to transfer his case to another county, Center County, in order to get him exonerated. And so this is the systemic corruption in Cambria County, but this white supremacist demon, when he drafted that legislation, he didn't include his own county, Cambria County, and his own city, Johnstown. So, and Philadelphia is almost 4 hours away from Cambria County. And he didn't include his own place where they have vicious crime. And we can't forget there are 4 prisons in his district. And let me tell you how the prison system works so you'll understand that what you just said was so on point. What's going on because of the Larry Krasner effect, those people are not going to prison. And because they're not going to prison, many of the prisons in the Pennsylvania DOC, when the numbers drop to a certain level, they then become activated to become shuttered. And once they close the prison, it's a wrap. All of the people in those rural counties that's living off those prisons like parasites on a dog's body, they SOL. They shit out of luck. And so there are 4 of those prisons in the state representatives county. And those prisons, the numbers in those prisons are dropping. And what they do across the state is they're juggling the numbers. When prisons fall below the number and risk getting shuttered, they'll transfer a whole bunch of prisoners from other prisons to that one prison so the numbers can go back up. They cooking the books. They playing, I used to play musical chairs or the shell game. Like in New York, they play 3-card Monte. Well, they playing 3-card Monte with prison cells and prisoners' bodies. And so they moving them around so these prisons that would be shuttered, be slated to be shuttered and shut down, the numbers will go back up. So now they'll take off the Diaz to be shuttered. And so all at our expense. So it's the Democrats and the Republicans working together to put people back in prison so that poor white people can get jobs, because they lying to them, telling the poor whites that black and brown people are the reasons they don't have no jobs. Baiting us against them while we fighting the wealthy, whether they black-face white supremacists or white-face white supremacists or brown-face white supremacists. They're working together to keep all of us at each other's throat while they cut the pie up completely and totally. And so this is what's going on. And that's just the local Pennsylvania story. You can replicate that all over the country. And you need local people to tell you the story, local people who have the courage and the integrity to tell that story.
What I'm doing now is I'm actually trying to reach out to the other swing states. I just talked to someone from Wisconsin this morning. I'm going to try to reach out to Minnesota, Michigan, and try to actually find other, advocates on this particular thing and get us all together and then force them, right? They don't want to acknowledge us, but to force them to really, because the closer the race is, the more power it puts people like you and me in to really force them to address our concerns, which they really don't want to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. That gives us leverage and we have to use it. And I'm going to tell you, Seven, we can't be pump faking. We can't be playing. If we got an agenda and we don't, our position is this. If our agenda, we're going to lay it out to each of the candidates, not just the duopoly of the Democrats and Republicans. We're going to put our agenda in the hands of all presidential candidates. Whoever backs our plan, that's who we're going to back. And if they don't back our plan, that's who we're going against. And so we don't have no allegiance to the Republicans or the Democrats, to the Greens, to the Libertarian Party. We don't have no allegiance to none of them. We got allegiance to us and our interests. If they rock with our interests, then we can make something happen.
You know, there's a lot of people who who are in the activist world who are dealing with difficulties in life and stuff like that. But I'm facing my own challenges. But whenever I talk to you, I'm always re-inspired to come back to work because I know you've been through your own issues that
Yes,
are,
sir.
wrongful imprisonment for over 40 years. So
42, don't rob me.
42 years, yeah. So whenever I look at my issues, right, yeah, and then I put them against yours, it helps me put my problems back into perspective and say, you know what, maybe my problems aren't that bad. You're a serious inspiration, and once again, even though your work, as in terms of getting Josh Shapiro kicked off, right? Think about it, folks. How important is Pennsylvania in this race? Everybody knows how important it is. Why wouldn't she select Shapiro? Something had to have happened. Now you know the story that the news isn't trying to tell you. Both sides. Makes a lot of sense.
And peep that if we're saying that this is what it is, and this is what happens, and this is how it unfurls, and this is the dirt that's going on behind the scenes, the next step is, what are we going to do to elevate now? We already took care of the first part of it. Now the next part is we're going to select the president of the United States, because we're going to tell the truth, and folks going to hear it and let people make their own decision based on the truth. Because most of the people who are beholden to the Republican Party or the Democratic Party, they're not going to tell the truth. They're not going to be critical. And let me give you an example on the Republican side. When Michael Steele knows that the Republican Party is a white supremacist party, just like the Democratic Party. But when he was the chairman of the Republican Party, he had an opportunity to come out and say, you know what? Now that I'm the chairman, we're going to do this shit the right way. Not my way, the right way. And the right way says that we practice unadulterated white supremacy, and none of that's going to happen anymore. He didn't do that. He hard pivoted and started attacking Obama, who many say in closed circles is a blackface white supremacist. Just he got better manners, but that's a whole nother story. But Michael still had the opportunity to indict the Republican Party when he was the chairman, and he didn't. He hard pivoted and started attacking Obama instead of focusing on the systemic corruption within the party. And many in the Republican Party put forth the lie that, see, we're not white supremacists. We picked somebody black to be the chairman of our party. But we all know what tokenism is, that you pick somebody who's not going to indict the system, and he didn't. And then you had people, the white supremacists, even within the party, they couldn't even stand the fact that he was chairman, so they got him the hell up out of there. And he still won't indict them. I hear him talking. They got him now on all these shows as if he's being critical and whatnot. No, buddy, you part of that duopoly. You know, whether it's Republican or Democrat, y'all still singing the same old song. Good cop, bad cop. One pretends that he loves you, and the other pretends that, or not pretends, or shows that he really don't like you, to pull you closer to the one that's pretending they like you. And they both trying to put handcuffs on you and put you in jail. They want to put them silver bracelets on you and put you in prison, or like we say, back on the plantation. And that's real, buddy.
It's a dirty, dirty game, yeah? Hopefully we can get some, yeah.
And the only ones who ain't dirty is the ones who A, don't sell their integrity, who have courage, maintain it, and will always speak the truth about every issue.
You know, there's actually buses lined up from New York to go to Pennsylvania to try to get people to go door to door. There's jobs paying people to phone bank for, once again, Republicans and Democrats using the corrupt money. But I think that I actually had, Pennsylvania, I think it's $20 to get the voter database. So you can actually, go out and start to lobby people individually, right? What can we do to actually help? We actually have the protest on the 18th, right? But what else can we do to actually help with the issues that y'all are going through right now? To help fight against the bullshit.
The first thing is you have to educate yourself about the issues. What's really going on? And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to give folks the local politics to see the treachery, the lies, the deceit of the Democrats and the Republicans, how they playing together. They playing tag team, playing us out. And we get faked out when one, they one pointing at one party, pointing at the other, and the other pointing at the other, finger pointing, and we get caught in the middle because they draw the line, and we so foolishly, because out of ignorance, we take sides. And then we're not even talking about how they greasing all these palms and whatnot, here and there. Many of the things that they charge each other with, they both guilty of it. Taking the wealthy's money, both of them are guilty of it. Mischaracterizing the other side, both of them are guilty of it. Telling lies on the other side, both of them are guilty of it. Supporting white supremacy, both of them are guilty of it. And it don't matter whether or not they have a blackface white supremacist in the Republican Party or the Democratic Party to articulate it. It's still white supremacy, raw, unadulterated white supremacy. And so so the first thing is we have to educate ourselves about what's going on. And then after you educate yourself, you have to get involved by making decisions. Write letters, send emails, do a Twitter storm, or they call it X now, do a email blitz, phone call storm, for different candidates and different entities. Holler at your United States Senator, your U.S. representative. Have grassroots people organize and show up on these clowns' doorsteps, wherever they live at. Show up and have camera. We got cameras. Everybody got cameras. You got a phone. You got a camera. Pull your cameras out and film these clowns moving and show them what they do, the deals that they make. Go to the Capitol, the state capitol, and bum rush these clowns' office and put them on blast. Ask them questions, hard, difficult, ugly questions about the truth, and then film them while you're doing it, and then put it on in social media to show people this is who you talking about. You're going to support. This is the person that we gave the facts to, and they dodged it. They human beings. They defecate, they eat, and they go to sleep. So you can find it easy to find them and put them on blast.
Just so you said, the social media, there's a lot of control going on through the algorithm that's actually preventing certain messages from being heard. That's why we're starting to make the local connections. So actually throughout my network, right, I'm calling people in Wisconsin earlier this morning. We're going to reach out to other people and actually get the message, because you're making inspiring content, right? You're giving us a lot of truths that help us to put together the pieces that the mainstream or even the independent media is not covering, and we're going to actually send it directly to the people. So I do have my new newsletter is on Substack. I'm going to actually, due to lack of funds, I wasn't able to keep my other newsletter going, but I'm going to actually try to make those other tools available to someone like yourself, so you can actually engage and help with your local organizing, right? So what you said was incredible today, and it really, it makes a lot of sense, and a lot of questions were answered about why Josh Shapiro wasn't picked for VP, because it would make so much mathematical sense for them to choose Josh Shapiro. But great work on your part and on part of your coalition, as in terms of I didn't even know about that until I really looked it up about the Act 40 and like those games they're trying to play. So
but let me add one little if you will, a cherry. Now, the first iteration of them trying to remove a democratically elected district attorney and Larry Krasner, their first iteration of that was to try to impeach him. And the Republicans started talking all this nonsense about he's not prosecuting cases and crime. Now, the person who led that charge was a Republican state representative out of Center County. His name is Kerry Benninghoff. He led the charge. But most folks don't know that when at Rockview State Prison, a prisoner raped a staff member. And in my capacity, I knew where all of the bodies were buried. I exposed it by sending a correspondence to all of the state reps and all of the local media, because the administration there was trying to cover it up. They sided with the rapist by default, because if they didn't support the rapist, they would all lose their job from the warden on down, because it was a breach of security. The fact that the rapist was able to get to the woman and rape her, in-house staff member, the fact that he was able to get to her and rape her showed that it was a breach of security from the warden on down. So in order to protect their jobs, they sided with the rapist, and they tried to besmirch the character of the woman who got raped, the victim, and said they tried to produce a false narrative that she was in a love affair with the rapist. So then that would absolve them from being responsible, as opposed to them being totally responsible with the breach of character. But the state representative for that area at Rockview, which is Center County, was Kerry A. Benninghoff. He led the charge. He was doing most of the fat mouthing about how Larry Krasner is corrupt. He's not prosecuting cases. He's not hard on crime. He won't do X, Y. Well, Kerry Benninghoff sided with a vicious, already convicted rapist who just raped somebody else in a prison in his district that's getting people jobs. He sided with the rapist by covering it up and keeping it up so that none of them would get fired. And what they ultimately did was the security captain took the weight, jumped on the grenade, and that's only because here's the other backstory. The security captain was a very smart woman, very smart, so smart she created an index system to identify certain individual elements within the prison, which is what got her promotion. She went, I think, from like from CO to lieutenant, jumped over and then became a captain. The next thing you know, she's security captain. But she was a vicious, notorious alcoholic, and she used to come to work intoxicated, and that's grounds for dismissal. And those type of things happen all the time. So they would still keep her job. They would do it over and over again. Though the system that she created, it only works when you have people executing it. And it didn't work because there was lots of rapes going on at Rockview. But because it was prisoner on prisoner rape, they didn't really give a fuck. But the moment one of these vicious rapists raped the staff member, then, oh my God, they got to run around. But when you follow the breadcrumbs, it was because of when people was being raped, you just let it go because the security captain was negligent. You were supposed to fire her and all of her superiors, whether it's the deputy of head of security at Rockview, or which is facility management, or the deputy in charge of the daily operations of the prison, and then the warden. You were supposed to fire all of them, and then even some of the lieutenants underneath who was responsible in security for doing the investigations. You were supposed to fire all of them, but they kept covering it up to save their jobs. And when this blew up, Kerry Benninghoff, the Republican state rep for Center County, was the same one that covered it up and then turned around because nobody knew. He thought nobody knew. He didn't know that I'm the one that sent him the letter. That, yeah, we got you. We got receipts on you. And so, and see, I gave a public comment. I made public comment and commentary about this because the Democrats who call themselves going at these Republicans, they were woefully unprepared. They had a press conference, and the press conference was disgraceful because they didn't know any of what I just shared with you. And it's their job to find out, because they could have put these boys on posters, wanted rapist supporter, wanted pedophile, wanted anti-democratic. Have you seen these people? Do you know them? This is their campaign address office. Go see them and see if you can arrest them. You know what I'm saying? So this is what we dealing with. And so that's another tidbit that they don't know that's behind scenes that's going on with these frauds. And in my opinion, all Larry Krasner has done was simply tell the truth. There's only two people since Donald Trump started his ascension to the presidency. In my opinion, there's only two people that stood up to this bully. One was LeBron James and the other was Larry Krasner. They went right at him. When he called them names, they called them names right back and said, we're going to go toe to toe. And those are the only two people that stood up to him. There were other people who made comments and said that what Donald Trump was doing was wrong, and they went into detail how. But I'm talking about going at it blow for blow. Like every time you call me a name, I'm going to call you a name back. And the only difference is when I call your name, it's going to be true. I'm not just going to be mocking you for the sake of mocking you. If I say you're a liar, it's going to be true that you're a liar. I'm not going to just say you're a liar to be saying it. I'm going to say it, and then I'm going to have the evidence with it to show that you're a liar.
No, I do want to ask a question for myself. The thing is that and I think that your coalition did a great job of approaching the Josh Shapiro incident, right? And saying, look, he Act 40, he's been acting undemocratically, so we're going to throw our support the other way if you don't actually like address what happened here, right? You didn't say like just close the door. You said let's work out what happened here and fix this, right? But the thing is that a lot of times they'll have something called a not-for-profit industrial complex. They'll send in people to once again, who seem believable or they look and sound like an activist, and then they actually end up. So what allowed your coalition to stay strong enough in order to get Josh Shapiro out of there? Because I'm sure there was a lot of interference and BS games going on.
Well, I hand selected everybody. And I didn't let nobody know what we was going to do. They just supported it because they trusted in the integrity and the work that we already put in. And we let them know, like, listen, you're not going to know what we're going to say because we don't want to be preempted. It's going to be a bombshell. And they're going to have to shit or get off the pot. And that's what they did. And it worked.
I'm struggling with very similar issues in the anti-war movement, really trying to get them to work with me, things like that. Isn't it funny that in the anti-war movement, there's no real Korean Americans or Japanese Americans, or there's no other either, right? War victims who are really at the top of the anti-war movement, right? It's kind of weird. So,
no, say that last part again, please.
There's in the anti-war movement, you don't really see war victims really coming out and really talking about, right, fighting against the war. It's a lot of these savior figures who come in. It's like having a reparations or criminal justice reform event without actual without actually Black people present. You're like, what is going on, right?
Absolutely.
You don't know it. Yeah. So there's this, as in terms of building a coalition that can actually successfully defend itself. I've had a lot of people come in and, they'll use some celebrity to bump me out the way. So they'll get to decide what and the people, I understand, they want to follow celebrity or whatever. So they're convinced to follow a path that is not actually going to actually get the change to happen. They're going to do a lot of, getting together and waving the hands around. But as in terms of actually making the change happen, right? And once again, great props to your coalition for actually, they had everything lined up with Shapiro and they said, you know what? This is too much. We can't do this. And, they still won't give you credit for it, but I'm glad to have.
I don't need credit. I don't need credit. I just want results. Fuck credit. Give credit to somebody else.
I used to think that way myself. But then the thing is that once, the thing is that other people came in and started to take the credit for the work, right? Yeah. And then they would actually abuse that. So actually the way that I see it now is that some people, they just want to grow a tree with fruits on it, right? And they say, look, I did a good job. And not saying that they didn't do a good job. But the thing is that if they don't take care of those fruits afterwards and make sure that they're harvested correctly, distributed properly, that fruit can rot on the tree and end up, causing rot that goes into the soil and actually destroys everything that you originally tried to work with. So you have to be responsible, right? I myself didn't want the credit before myself either, right? I thought, it was too prideful or something like that. But I realized that being irresponsible and not taking credit and letting other people take it or, that it actually destroyed what I had tried to work on. Does that make sense?
It makes all the sense in the world. And let me tell you, when I made the statement I just made, those sentiments you just expressed, I support them 1,000%. What I was saying is that is the reality you just articulated. But for me, from an external perspective, I don't need credit.
Me neither. I get you. I'm with that. I agree with that as well.
But I'm saying what you and I we're saying the same thing, but we're saying it differently, and they're not mutually exclusive. Because
you're right. Because if it didn't affect the results, I wouldn't care. Honestly, being the guy is like a hassle.
There you go.
People come through their problems. They want you to do other stuff. They want to use you, exploit you for other things. It's a problem, and I don't necessarily want that. But the fact of the matter is that I realized that it was affecting the results, like you said. And I'm very results oriented, right? The results are the primary thing. So,
period.
Honestly, I wish I didn't have to do it, right? But I will do it to get the results.
And so will I. Where I'm not going to let someone come in and take credit. And it's not really about taking credit from me. It's about taking credit for something you didn't do, and you're going to try to parlay that into furthering your loyalty to the oppression.
There you go. Yeah,
You're
absolutely.
a sycophant. You're an obsequious minion, and you want to use an idea that was used to tear down the oppression. You want to take credit for going at it when you know you didn't do it, to try to use that to get leverage so you can shore up your position to be a better token.
You know, and unfortunately, a lot of times, like when I'm doing my activism and stuff like that, I found that like the people who are watching them most closely, the regular people, they want to just live their regular lives. But the people who want to misuse the things that I'm doing, they're really watching, waiting, trying to get their hands on the tools to use it for themselves.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes.
I got to figure out how to really make that work. You know what I mean? How to really, and we have to bring up the people and cause a cultural shift and really cause them to really, right, to stop being consumers and to really think more critically. So, hopefully we could be the part of that change. I'm really hoping. Yeah.
Yeah. Agitate, 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 agitate. Organize, 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 organize. Mobilize, mobilize, mobilize. Tell the truth. Maintain your integrity. Once you give your integrity up, you can't get it back. Those who don't have integrity don't deserve to be in your circle.
Damn right. Yeah. So, thank you so much. Yeah. Anything else you wanted to really, once again, Muti Ajamu-Osagboro, he's got a Facebook, he's got a YouTube. Definitely check him out. Hope they'll get him on Substack soon so that he can have a free newsletter, so he could start actually communicating with more people. I think that he's a very inspiring activist, and I'm just honored that you're even here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, man. It's an honor just even building with you and camaraderie with you and fellowshipping with you. All that I do is designed to develop trust and build a liberation struggle, to liberate people from oppression, to destroy oppression, and to liberate folks from oppression and the oppressors. And it's designed to develop trust. So I'm going to end with the words of Ronald Reagan: trust, but verify.
I like that. All right. So I guess that's it, folks. So we're going to end the stream here. Once again, please sub to Muti Ajamu-Osagboro, right? Yeah. Who knows what happens to, you got to diversify your sources. He's a very great source. So thank you so much. I'm going to hit end stream.
Hotep, after who